Hello everyone, this is CircuitPython Weekly for Monday, May 18th, 2026. It's time of the week where we get to talk about all things CircuitPython. I'm Liz, I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join anytime by going to adafruit.it/discord. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel and the CircuitPython voice channel. This meeting typically happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, except when it coincides with a U.S. holiday. In the notes doc, there's a link to a calendar you can view online or add to your favorite calendar app. We also send notifications about upcoming meetings via Discord. If you would like to receive these notifications, ask us to add you to CircuitPythonista's Discord role. There's a shared notes document that accompanies the meeting and recording. You can contribute to the document beforehand. Final notes document includes timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use the doc to skip around and view the parts of the video that interest you most. Meeting tends to run 30 to 60 minutes. After each meeting, we post a link for the next meeting's notes document in the CircuitPython dev channel on the Adafruit Discord. Check the pinned messages, finalized notes doc, so you can add your notes for the following meeting. If you wish to participate but cannot attend, you can leave hug reports and status updates in the document for us to read during the meeting. And the meeting is held in 5 parts. First part is community news. Second part is state of CircuitPython libraries and Blinka. Third part is hug reports. Fourth part, status updates. And finally, in the weeds. And that covers how the meeting will go. And with that, we can roll right into community news. So, CircuitPython 10.2.1 and CircuitPython 10.3.0 Alpha 2 released. CircuitPython 10.2.1 and CircuitPython 10.3.0 Alpha 2 have been released. They are bug fix revisions of CircuitPython, and there is an Adafruit blog link, release notes for 10.2.1 on GitHub, and release notes for 10.3.0 Alpha 2 also on GitHub. I'll read through the highlights of these releases. Fix crashes on certain boards with integrated displays. Adafruit MagTag 2025, improved display quality and support new display variant. Work for that was very cool to watch. Add CircuitPy SD card USB to settings.toml to control visibility of a mounted SD card on USB. Support float values in settings.toml. Report USB MSC drives as removable media to the host. Update ESP IDF to version 6.0.1, fix audio mixer regressions on SAMD51, and then STM support audio.audio out using DAC. Next up, the project of the week was a little computer that writes poems about computers. Yafira Electrocute Lab on Instagram has created Ribbon Logic 2026, and it uses an Adafruit Qualia to generate poetry. If you are on Instagram, definitely recommend following her. She has really cool stuff, a lot of CircuitPython. And then another project was CircuitPython LED Matrix Info Display, a tiny, always-on display using an Adafruit Matrix Portal S3 and a 64x32 RGB LED matrix, code in CircuitPython, and it's on Guy Lewin's website and on GitHub. And these news items and more are available in our weekly Python for Microcontrollers newsletter, which goes out via email on Monday mornings. Visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks to Anne for putting the newsletter together. If you have any Python on hardware projects to share or find content you'd like to see included, please consider contributing to the newsletter. Email cpnews@adafruit.com with a link to the content. And that is community news. Next up is the state of CircuitPython libraries and Blinka. So this is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It gives us a chance to look at the health of the project separate from our status updates. We'll talk about the project overall and then separately discuss the core, libraries, and Blinka. But first up, overall, there were 11 pull requests merged by 3 authors, Dan Halpert, Mikey Sklar, and Tan Newt. And there were 2 reviewers, Dan Halpert and Tan Newt. There were 67 issues closed by 2 people and 8 opened by 6 people. And now we'll hear from Scott about the core.
Hello, let me find it. So for the core, we had 11 pull requests merged from 3 different authors. Mikey Sklar is an infrequent contributor, so thank you to them. Dan and I did reviews. We have 17 open pull requests, which is very comfortably under our goal of 25, which happens to be a single page on GitHub. have 67 closed issues by 2 people. I believe most of those were closed by Dan, and then 4 open by 3 people. So really, we have 800 open issues, 800 even. So thanks to Dan for that, and for doing that triage. We use the milestone system to prioritize work for us folks that are paid by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. And that is to say, if there's something you'd like to do that we marked long term, feel free to do that. We're still happy to have it addressed and merged in. It's just something that we're not going to pick up right away. We have 103 open issues for 10xx, which has kind of been our latest, like, yeah, we should get to that bucket. And I think Dan's planning to go through that. We have 1 open issue for 10.2.x, which is a bug on the current stable release. We have 0 open issues for 10.3, which will be the next minor release. And then we have also 11 open issues for 11.0. And 657 open long-term open issues as well. We have 0 issues not assigned to milestones, so we're all up to date on triage. And that's how the core is going.
Great, thank you. Now we'll hear from Foamy Guy about the libraries.
All right, thanks, Liz. This section covers all the CircuitPython libraries, which are hosted on GitHub under 2 different bundle repositories. We have the Adafruit library bundle, which has 393 libraries in it currently, and we have the community library bundle with contributions by members of the community. That one has 176 libraries in it for a total, right now, 569 libraries that support various things on CircuitPython hardware. It was a quiet week in the Adafruit library bundle this week. No pull requests merged, no authors, no reviewers, leaving us with 39 pull requests that are open right now. The oldest one of those is a draft that is at 1,369 days. The newest one was 3 days old at the time of these stats. Also relatively quiet on the issue front, no issues closed, and then 4 issues were opened up by 4 people, leaving us with 781 open issues currently, and there are 2 of those right now that are labeled as good first issue. You can find those 2 and the rest listed over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is a website where you should head if you are interested in getting involved in the CircuitPython project, particularly on the Python side of things. When you first load that page, you'll see a list of open PRs. These could be waiting for a person to review, so you could take that on if it sounds interesting to you. You can go through that list, find something that you have knowledge about or some interest in, or it's especially helpful if you have the hardware for it, although not strictly required. Click through to GitHub, read about what that pull request is, and then you can look over the code that has been submitted for spelling, syntax, logic, anything like that. If you do have the hardware, you can test it out and then leave a comment there on GitHub letting us know what you found when you looked over the code, and if you were able to test it out, what you found when you did that. If you would like to get leveled up to join our official review team on GitHub, we can work with you to add you onto that. If you'd like to start submitting some of your own contributions, you can also get started with that from the same website, circuitpython.org/contributing. If you click over to the Issues tab, you will see a similar looking list of links over to GitHub, but these ones represent issues. They don't have a proposed change yet. So these are going to be either asking to fix a bug or implement a new feature or enhancement, maybe add a new example, something like that. And you can kind of click through to GitHub, read up on what the issue is about, and then submit your own PR to resolve that issue. We have a Learn Guide for contributing to CircuitPython using Git and GitHub. We also have folks who are more than happy to help get you spun up here on the Discord. So if you are trying to help contribute, whether you're trying to review or submit PRs of your own, if you're having trouble with any part of the process, like the version control or the actions or anything else, just come say hi on Discord. Let us know what you're up to. We would be happy to help you out. We want everyone to contribute in a way that works for them. And I will leave you this week with updates of libraries in the last 7 days. Over in the community bundle, there were some updates by Cooper to the TLV 320 AIC 3204 library for a DAC, and then also POI2S library. So audio folks may be interested in those things over in the community bundle. That's what we have this week. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And now I will read about Blinka. Blinka is our compatibility layer for CircuitPython on single board computers like Raspberry Pi. This week there were no pull requests merged, but there are currently 14 open pull requests. There were 0 issues closed, but also 0 new issues opened. There are currently 85 open issues total, and there are 174 supported boards. And that is state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. Next up is Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance to highlight folks in CircuitPython community and beyond for doing awesome things. I'll start, and then we'll go down the list of Hug Reports alphabetically. If you are text only or are missing the meeting, I will read your notes when I get to them in the list. So I will kick things off with a group hug, and then we'll hear from Dan.
Two things. Thanks to Tim, Foamy Guy, working on I2SN, which a lot of people are going to appreciate. And thanks to Scott, who's doing a lot of work on hardware in the loop testing, which will help really improve our confidence about that the changes we make have caused no regressions and also allow us to test things much more thoroughly than we have now instead of doing ad hoc hardware testing. Okay.
Great, thank you. And now we'll hear from Foamy Guy.
All right, I have a Hug Report this week. Thanks to Relic SE for testing and reviewing my work on I2SN and providing some really nice feedback on the PR. That's what I have. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Now we'll hear from Cooper.
Well, I guess I'm just adding in here. Thanks again to Foamy Guy. I2SN has been something we've been wanting for a long time, and we're getting really close now.
Great, thank you. And now we'll hear from Scott.
First, thank you to Dan for doing the pass over the old bugs. It's awesome to be down to 800. And then also Patrick McKenna, who wrote up on their blog about documenting wrapping Claude in bubble wrap, which is a kind of like sandboxing command for Linux. So thanks to them.
Great, thank you. And that is Hug Reports. Next up is Status Updates. Status Updates is our time to tell folks what we're up to individually. I will start and we'll go through the list of updates alphabetically. When I call on you, take a couple minutes to talk about what you've been doing since the last meeting and what you'll be doing until the next meeting. If the discussion becomes too long for status updates, we can move it to In the Weeds. So I'll start. I've been working on a drop-in PCB for the IKEA Alpstuga CO2 sensor. It uses an LED matrix for the display, and the LEDs fit into a character mask in the enclosure, so the placement's very precise. To get the placement correct, I brought in a picture of the PCB into Fusion 360 and calibrated the image so that it was sized correctly within Fusion. Then I could build out a sketch with all the LEDs and mechanical parts. I 3D printed the sketch to test the sizing and placement of everything, and now I've started working on the PCB layout, and I'm hopefully fairly confident the LEDs will all be in the right spot. And now we'll hear from Dan.
All right, so first of all, last week I released CircuitPython 10.2.1, which had some important fixes for some boards, and then also did a 10.3.0 alpha.2 release that's already been mentioned in the news. And as already been mentioned, I closed 66 CircuitPython issues, mostly because they were either stale, or they were obsolete, or they were solved. And I went over a bunch of issues sort of randomly in support and long-term and the 10.x.x issues to do this. So we've only got 800 left. That seems like a lot, but it's under control, actually. I've got 3 minor PRs in process for the next alpha release. I've got some more to work on, and there are several issues involving expressive BLE that I'm going to take a look at so that we can get those fixed. And finally, as I've mentioned a few times, the SAMD UF2 bootloader that's for SAMD boards like Metro M0, M4, the M0 and M4 boards, CPX and so forth. There was a problem that showed up originally in Chrome OS more than a year ago where the boot drive for those boards didn't show up or it was not functional. And then when I recently upgraded to Ubuntu 26.04, I started having the same problem. There had already been some work done to try to narrow this down. And so it did turn out there was a bug in the bootloader having to do with how an error response was constructed for commands that were unimplemented or invalid. And the way the error response was constructed badly was such that the Linux kernel would just hang on that port waiting. I mean, it wouldn't stop everything, but it would basically, that USB stuff would be hanging forever in Linux. So that's now fixed. So if you are using SAMD boards on Linux or on Chromebook, especially recent versions of Linux, and the boot drive doesn't seem to work right, update your bootloader. And I'll be writing some pages about this in Learn Guides about it. And that's it for me.
Great, thank you. Now we'll hear from Foamy Guy.
Right. I have done last week a couple more iterations on the I2SN work in the core. I added output bit depth and sample signed arguments. So those increase the functionality of that module and they make it a little bit simpler. The code that you have to write gets a little bit simpler for recording to WAV files with the new output bit depth functionality. I also tested a bunch more this week and tried out a reproducer script from the issue that was posted on the PR. And then the other main thing that I've been working on is this embodiment kit project. I've mentioned it, I think, during a few meetings, so I won't give you the recap of it. But this week, I've gotten the hardware assembled. I went through a second revision after getting ahead of myself, soldering some parts a little too close together, some headers a little too close together without testing whether the parts would fit. But the new version is all put together and is working perfectly. I have refactored the code some more to make it easier to integrate other communication channels. I've added all of the sensors and outputs into the message handler so that it can actually do stuff with all of its sensors and outputs. And then I added the ability to make custom faces. So I have this like sprite pack that has a bunch of different face features like eyes and eyebrows and mouths. And there are a few that are predefined. So there's like a happy face and a sad face and a couple others that I'll add. But it will also be able to customize the face so it can select its own eyes, its own mouth, and its own eyebrows and layer them up, put them all together. I can also get a list of all those files so it knows what the options are. And I have started writing the guide for that this morning, so I'm hoping to finish up the guide this week, and then other folks can start building along with it. And that's what I've been up to. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Now we'll hear from Scott.
Hello. So my JLC PCB orders are expected to be completed on the 24th. So hopefully next week, the hardware in the loop board and the GPIO board V2 will come in. So in the meantime, I'm basically trying to get the software as far as I can so that once I get those boards, I'll be able to test them and then use them. So I'm working on the hardware in the loop software side by just wiring it up using wires. I was getting really, really frustrated with Claude's permissions last week and decided I was looking for ways to basically be able to run Claude without it needing to do all the permission stuff. And I decided to make a Python script that calls bubble wrap. This is a Linux CLI that is used for sandboxing, and Claude actually uses it itself. But I want to manage it myself so that I can get it set up right for CircuitPython and then not have to, and then I can let Claude not worry about it, which I'm getting quite close, and it's been great. The other advantage is that once I get the sandbox set up, I can use it for other things. Like if I want to try PyAgent, for example, I can put it in the same sandbox, and it should only be able to do CircuitPython-y things. I'm calling it BotBox. So if you go on like GitHub tannewt/botbox, it's there. It really just is like stores some state, like which folders to keep around and that sort of thing, and then just calls bubble wrap around it for you. I did one interesting thing was figuring out how to make some devices available to it without allowing all of my /dev. And I had Claude write up a UDEV rule that makes device nodes for USB in /dev sandbox, just like a folder that I can put things that both I and the sandbox can access. So that's where like my USB serial connections are going. I did not want to give it everything in /dev because that has like my root file system. That would kind of defeat the purpose. So interesting things there. And if folks are thinking about that or running up against that, reach out to me. I'm happy to try to get a second person using it too.
Very cool. Thank you. And that's going to do it for status updates. There are no in the weeds topics, so we can move to wrap up the meeting. This has been CircuitPython Weekly for Monday, May 18th, 2026. Thank you to everyone who participated. If you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. Video of this meeting will be released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast will be available on major podcast services. It will also be featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter. Visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe. Next meeting will be held on Tuesday, May 26th, because next Monday is Memorial Day, a holiday in the United States. And the meeting is held on the Adafruit Discord, which you can join by going to adafruit.it/discord. To be notified about the meeting and any changes to the time or day, you can ask to be added to the CircuitPythonistas role, and we always ping when it's moved for a holiday, so don't worry if you forget. But until then, we hope to see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.